we moved up on the line that day, and I'll never forget, we were right at an embankment. You know, it was in hedgerow country. Are you familiar with hedgerows? You know, they're tall banks with growth over the top of them and whatnot. I'll never forget that. All of a sudden, some of these guys came tumbling over the top of them, coming around saying they're zeroed in on us. They're zeroed in on us. And what it was, that Germans had the 88 millimeter artillery. These were guns that they used for anti-aircraft as well as for ground use, and they were pretty monstrous. When those shells came down and hit some of this embankment, just tore the whole embankment away. But somehow along that time, the captain, our company captain, got hit in that barrage, and I was grabbed by the company exec and along with 3 other guys to carry him out. The medic says he's gone. Somebody cover him. Somebody give him something to cover his face. They probably didn't worry about that much later on, but they did at that point. Anyway, I had a field jacket on, which was a light jacket, as well as a shirt. And I don't know why, but I took my field jacket off and gave him my shirt to put over the captain's face, and put the field jacket back on the sleeves and kind of came down over my arms a little bit. And we carried him out, and then the 4 of us, and then finally got back to the company position again. And shortly thereafter, again, we were kind of in a backup area anyway, I guess. But I was grabbed along with the rest of, I guess, my squad to do an ammunition detail. That's to go back to the rear and load up with bandoliers and come back bring them all the ammunition back to the front. So we did that, and we got back and loaded up, and we came under fire a little bit on the way back, but we got out of that, and we were working our way up the hedgerows to a very forward position. When we got to this spot behind a hedgerow where we were supposed to meet the rest of the platoon, there's nobody there. And the sergeant kept looking at his map to say, are we in the right place or what? And we were. And all of a sudden, Germans started dropping mortar shells behind us, so to cut off where we had been. So if you can picture, the hedgerow is here, this tall bank with stuff over the top, but nothing out behind us, so it's wide open. So the only protection we had was being close to this hedgerow. And the Germans were over beyond us at another hedgerow or another firing position. So they dropped mortar shells down here, and so we'd run up along the hedgerow up toward the other end, away from where they were dropping. We got close up there, and they'd drop them up here, and we'd run back. They knew what they were doing. We were all green, and they'd been at this for a while. But the next time we came up, I looked up, and there was a German soldier with an automatic weapon with his fingers on the trigger saying, "Hands up, my boys, hands up." He was saying that may have been the only English he knew, but he knew that. And there was really nothing, there was nowhere to go. If I'd try to shoot at him, then he would just mow down the whole group. So at any rate, what do? I dropped my rifle. I thought, I dropped this too close. This will kill you. I reached down, picked it up, and tossed it away. I'm sure that guy must have said under his breath, "Just make my day." But they took us back to the rear. We went about, maybe a couple of 100 yards, whatever it was, and there was a stone wall without any growth on top of it. And the Germans had effected a firing line behind the stone wall, machine guns and people with bazookas and all that sort of stuff. And facing it, there was a little stone building off to the right, and the stone wall was off to the left. And then behind that, or maybe another couple of 100 yards, there was another stone wall. None of these had windows in them. All the windows and all that was all gone, of course. And a nice lake is a pretty sight, the little bit I saw of it. But at any rate, they took us to the second building to search us. And obviously they were looking for weapons and that sort of thing. But what they really were looking for was cigarettes. Cigarettes for the officers, they were saying. Well, the officers probably never saw them, but they were having a field day because these guys our guys had packs and they had cartons of cigarettes on them, and that's what these guys were really wanting, because cigarettes over there were like gold. Interestingly enough, the day I reported to Fort Mac, I stopped by my grandfather's jewelry store here in Atlanta. My folks had arranged for me to have a watch, a real special watch in those days. It was shockproof, waterproof, etc., self-winding, and I was wearing it. Well, when they were searching us, I had the watch on and my sleeve was down like this, and they didn't see it. But before they got to me, there was an order came down from the firing line up above that said they needed SWI men, 2 men. And they hadn't gotten the men. They picked me and a Mexican-American and says, go up there. And so what are you going to do? But you do what you're told. These guys had guns and we didn't. So we started running up toward the firing line, and just about that time, the Americans started coming in with a lot of small arms fire, stuff all around you. And the German up at the firing line was saying, get down, get down. And we didn't do it. We just kept running up toward them. I didn't get hit, and my partner didn't get hit. We just kept going, and we got up to the firing line, where this was this wall again, where all the Germans were behind it. And this German soldier was jab, jab, jab. I didn't know what he was saying. I didn't speak German, and obviously he didn't speak English. And so I just stood there looking at him. And there was a sergeant or a non-com of some sort that was sitting down over there, and he was obviously watching, and he got up and came over, and he looked at me, and he took his Luger out of his thing, and he pointed at me, and he pointed at that little building. We got the message right quick. We went in the little building, and we saw why he wanted us to go over there. There was a German soldier that was laying down there with a hole in his shoulder, and they wanted us to carry him out, I guess. Just about that time, a mortar shell hit the edge of the building and set some hay or something, straw on fire. This German soldier came running out there. He didn't need any help. So we just went back, and about that time, the rest of the group, they brought him up. So they never really searched me, so they never found that watch, and that later on there's a story about that.